ZIPINAR. We try to give the best that we can from our Let Us Talk It platform to the community to make it empowered, to make it informed, so that we have a better today. And of course, if we have a better today, we'll have a better tomorrow. And we always come every Wednesday from 12 p.m. EST time. But what we do behind this is a lot of effort to get the speakers in, to have special days like today, where we want to focus on the financial area with women, with others, with investment. So although this is a CSR activity, although this is we do it for the community, a lot of work gets put in, definitely. So we would really appreciate all those who are all those who know the Let Us Talk It, please spread the word. It will be really helpful. And if you have been part of Let Us Talk It and you want to give us any feedback, we would love to hear from that. And you can always email us at webinar@letustalkit.com. We definitely do a lot of work with our youth, having two separate groups of younger youth group and older youth group, and their live webinars also happen every single week. So we do it consistently, and your support, help, feedback will definitely help it to go to our next step. So with that, we have two amazing topic and two amazing speakers today. So one from India, Shikha Gupta, and the other speaker from Nigeria, Abdul Rahman Enoch. And they are two powerful speakers coming from two backgrounds, but our simple and one goal is to inform our community, to have better knowledge on the finances, on the investment side, so that we make an informed decision whenever we are dealing with those areas. So our first topic would be women and financial independence. It might be a lot of controversy. Everything we hear, women are equal and everything. I agree with that. But still, when it comes to dealing with financial areas, we always, as much as we are empowered, we try to push it onto our male side of it, like our husbands or fathers, or we have a tendency to feel that they know better. So how to deal with that? Our speaker Shikha will be talking to us, because, and she has a powerful background to do so, because she has been an HR leader with experience across a gamut of human resources function. She knows what it takes to be a good leader and a good employee, if you say so. So she has her specialities in leadership hiring, global MBA campus hiring, a lot of it. But one thing that she mentioned while we were having a conversation, that when we are, when we have the education and we are blessed with a certain kind of life, which is easy, then why not give back to the community more? And that's why she's here for the second time. And she gave of me a full thing saying that, I can be anytime back whenever you need me with a new topic. And she's always passionate. Absolute honor to have you, Shikha. Over to you. Shikha?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, I was on mute. Thank you very much. Can you hear me, Julan?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Let Us Talk It for having me one more time, and Julan for this opportunity. It was a pleasure being there last time. It's a pleasure being here even this time. And thank you also for this rather generous introduction. For me, guys, everybody who's listening to me right now, viewers, listeners, right? Women in finance have always been very controversial, like Julan always mentioned, right? There's a huge gender bias associated with it. Right from the time all of us were growing up, women were growing up, right? When we were little girls, fathers were managing finance, or, when we were at college, brothers were managing finance. And now that when women are married, it's husbands who are managing finance. So I would, in this little half an hour that we have, touch upon 2, 3 aspects of women and financial literacy. One, let's understand, why do women need financial literacy? A couple of points that come to my mind. Number one, women are called as finance managers of the house, right? Finance ministers, rather, right? She runs the household. She takes care of all the expenses, right from groceries, maid, cook, gardeners. She runs the finance of the entire house, whatever is needed. So it's very important for her to understand, to be financially literate, right? Secondly, I think it also prepares the woman for emergencies, right? In case there is a family emergency and you need to run, you need to know how to use a credit card, how to use a debit card, how to manage cash, how to withdraw cash. So that knowledge, that financial literacy is very important. Another thing that I would like to highlight, children, right? When you see your parents are educated, your parents are, well studied, well read, say your mother is financially literate, don't you have a little more respect for the person? So, right, it resonates well with children as well, that their parents are financially literate, especially mothers, right? Another thing that I would like to highlight, managing, like I said, day-to-day expenses, day-to-day shopping, all the day-to-day transactions become very easy if she knows how to manage money, right? So that is why it is important for her to know how to manage money. And research also says, another point, research also says that women tend to live longer than men, right? By 5 to 7 years longer than men. So it is, but essential, that the woman understands how to manage the financial portfolio in the house, because God forbid if tomorrow she's alone, she can't be dependent on somebody, right? She needs to run the house. Last but not the least, in my view, women who are financially literate, right, are very confident, right? They make their own decisions. They don't have to depend on anyone, right? How do you run the monthly household expenses? How much do you invest in, I don't know, kids' education or stocks, mutual funds, all of that, commodity trading? So women are in that field as well, right? So if they understand finance well, they can play around, they can support their husbands, or they can support their fathers, or they can even start an individual financial portfolio for themselves, right? So for me, these are the few reasons why it is very important for women to be financially literate. Are we good? Any questions or thoughts so far? No?
Totally agreed.
Totally agree. Thank you. Right. Even initially, even I was a little kind of, not very finance savvy. But I think as you grow up, right, you start hitting the college, you start with your first job. It's very necessary. Imagine you get your first paycheck, you get your first salary transfer into your bank account, and you don't even know how to do internet banking. Right. There are people like that. That previous generation who've moved into, say, probably entrepreneurship. They've become CEOs, they're running their own organizations, but they're not very finance savvy, right? How to do internet banking, how to transfer money, how to withdraw money, all that becomes extremely important. So it is very, very important for women to gain financial literacy because of all these reasons. And we talk about women empowerment, she's no less than a man, right? She walks hand in hand, she's present in all the areas of work. There's nothing that women cannot do, so why not finance? So I think that was the first set of points that I wanted to touch upon. Moving on to, what are the specific challenges, right? Now we've understood why women need to be financially literate. Let's understand what are some challenges that women face in this field, right? First and foremost, by design, women tend to earn lesser than men, right? That's the industry scenario, right? they earn a little less compared to the men. Probably they study also a little less. Just saying, that's not the general norm, but yes, there are pockets or areas, cities, countries, geographies where you'll notice women tend to earn lesser than men, right? And the reason is because a lot of women start their career after their children are teenagers, right? They take breaks in between, or some of these women tend to start their careers when they're, whatever, 30 plus or 35 plus or maybe 40 plus, right? Taking care of the family, raising children. I think that is one of the biggest challenges why women are not. Look at STEM, for example, right? Science, teaching, engineering, mathematics, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. In STEM careers across the geography, right, there are only 4% of the women who reach leadership positions, right? Uh, there are about 15% of the women out of all the students who apply for the STEM careers who pass out in that STEM careers, but only 4% of them reach the leadership positions, right? Because family takes priority. Third thing that I feel women face as challenges is that they carry their income is but the ratio of the debt a woman carries, loans and EMIs and all that, right? They carry a very similar balance, debt balance that a man carries, but then the capacity to pay back that loan or the capacity to pay back that EMI is much lesser than a man because the salary is less. So that's another challenge that women face, right? Another thing that comes to my mind, and this is what research also says, a lot of women also go through, their marriages unfortunately end up in a divorce, right? So to settle all that, right, they mortgage their property, for their children's sake, for their upbringing, or instead of pension or retirement program, right, they end up mortgaging their properties. So that's another challenge that women face, right? And due to a lower income, they end up with very little, right? What will they save? What will they pay? How will they run their household? So these are a couple of points that come to my mind in terms of uh, challenges. Another challenge, I think, if a single mother is raising children, right, the cost of the children's education is also relatively high, correct? A single parent supporting a child's education becomes another challenge, right? If the woman is not financially stable, if the woman is not financially literate, she will face all these challenges in life, right? And especially people who reach the senior citizen category, right? They are not very financially stable, correct? Because they have not been managing finances. Plus, if they are single mothers or if they are single parents, right, they end up in bigger challenges. So any thoughts anybody would want to contribute in terms of challenges pertaining to women and finance? So these are the couple of things that come to my mind. Now, maybe so now that we've understood what the challenges are, the third segment of my conversation would be around what are the mistakes that women make, right, while managing financial portfolios? What are the top 2, top 3 mistakes or top 5 mistakes women make? The first and the foremost thing, right, is they allow, right, consciously, subconsciously, or willingly, they allow their husbands to manage money, to manage the financial portfolio of the house, right? Why? If you are educated, if you are capable enough, you should manage the financial portfolio, right? Second thing that I think, and a lot of my friends and colleagues do that, right? Filing IT returns, filing tax returns, right, without fully understanding or reading it is not the deal. And that's what most of the people do. Either they take help of a CA, chartered accountant, to file returns, or they take their husband's or their father's help to, file the returns. It is necessary for the woman to understand what are the various components of tax filing, right? What are the different sections? How does this tax structure work? How do you file those returns? It's important. But women don't do that, right? There are hardly women who understand that well. Third thing, I think third mistake that they do is they do not, they do not ask enough and more questions around finance, whether they're growing up as girls to their fathers, or they're growing, or they're married to their husbands, right? Enough and more questions around, how do you plan financially? How do you plan well financially for the future? How do you plan for ourselves in terms of life insurance, in terms of kids' future plan, in terms of education? Not asking enough questions, not probing for data, not understanding how finances work. That is another mistake that women do. They should show equal interest. The way they show interest in running the household, they should also show interest in the financial portfolio of the house, right? It's very important. Another thing that probably comes to my mind is, sharing the financial responsibility, right? Now, if there are multiple expenses in a household, say you have to pay all your house help, right? Maid, cook, gardener, cleaner, driver, blah blah blah. Then if you're in a rented house, you have to pay accommodation. If you are privy to, or if you've signed up for a life insurance or whatever insurance policy, you have to pay a premium, right? All these activities are done by the men in the house. Why can't the woman take charge and say, okay, this month I'm going to pay all the bills, right? From water, electricity to credit card. That's how she learns, right? How do you pay it? Whether you do a check payment or whether you do an online payment, how does internet banking operate? Right. So I will do all the bill payments, or I will pay the insurance premium, or I will pay all the house help this month. Taking that initiative, taking those financial responsibilities in their hand, in their stride, and doing it is something that they don't do. That's one of the biggest mistakes. It's always the husband's job to pay all the bills. It's very famous, right? The wife spends and the husband pays. So that's another mistake that women do, right? A lot of women, and I don't want to classify what types, but a lot of women don't even have their own credit and debit cards. They always use their spouse's credit and debit cards. Unless you have a card of your own, you know how it operates, what's the PIN, how do you use it. I think it's very important. That financial literacy is important, but not too many women use that, right? Or have that. A lot of women, another thing that comes to my mind, also do not have a savings account, right? You know, they just don't have, especially people who are not working, they probably don't even have a bank account, right? Only the husband is working, the husband has a bank account, right? A savings account. That's important. You should have a bank account. You should know how it operates. You should know what kind of transactions you can do and stuff like that. That's another mistake that women do. One of the key things that women make as a mistake is they do not do long-term financial planning. It is always the husband's job to see, or the man's job to see, okay, how do you plan the future of kids? How do you plan expenses? How much money am I earning versus what are the expenses? How do you manage that balance sheet at home, right? It is always the man's job. Women don't plan, don't show interest. Yes, if they're asked for advice, they will give some advice, but actively sitting down and planning, this 1 year or the next 2 years or the next 3 years, how do my finances work? Will this money, and you also have to, she also has to keep inflation in mind, right? Prices don't remain the same. Everything gets, inflation moves from 7, 8, 9, 10, 11% year on year, right? You have to keep inflation in mind. How do you plan your finances? So she has to sit down, right? Chalk that plan along with the husband, take that interest, right? Which she doesn't do. That's one of the mistakes most of the women do. It's the man's job and he will do it. So these are a couple of things that I thought I should highlight. Women don't do it and they should start doing it. It's not difficult. It's not rocket science. Yes, maybe it'll take a couple of days to understand, right? But then we have to start taking interest, right? You can't be, women cannot be financially dependent on men all the time. She needs to know how she can run the finances of the house, right? So these are a couple of mistakes that women do. And I think the last segment of my talk, I would want to talk about what is it that they need to do to make the scenario better? How do you overcome these mistakes, right? First is you have to start taking interest in not only spending money, but safeguarding it, planning with that money, making future plans, investing it, right? That's one. Second thing she should do is she should start setting financial goals, right? How do you manage your personal finances, right? See, life is always between what we want versus what we need, wishes and wants, right? What can you manage? Wants is something that you can manage in your finances, right? Whatever sum of money you're earning, right? Wish is something which is probably out of the comfort zone. Now, if you want to fulfill your wishes, how do you manage that sum of money that you're earning month on month, right? You need to plan for it. So you have to set certain financial goals. Another thing which is very interesting, which most of the women do, and most of them also don't do, is budgeting, right? You write that you have this little diary, or you have a pen, notebook, not pen. You have a diary or a notebook where you write your daily expense, what are your monthly expenses, daily expenses. Why don't we start, some budget planning? I think that's something that we can do. So we are in the month of November, and my household expenses were like 20,000, which is killing me. How can I budget well, plan well, and probably spend December 2021 in 15,000? How can I save 15,000 and live the same kind of lifestyle, have the same kind of luxurious lifestyle? And these are just examples. So budgeting and planning well can lead you to a better lifestyle, right? Another thing that women should do, which I say, which they don't do, understanding what are the tax obligations, right? How do you see, for example, a lot of us, how do you save? How do you manage taxes? So there are multiple options that different companies give, right? Do you opt for those tax saving options, right? So Sodexo coupons, periodicals, journals, internet facility, phone facility. There are different things that companies offer. So what kind of a tax planning or tax structure do you want your compensation to have? I think you should plan for that carefully so that you pay as much as less that you can pay in terms of taxation, right? Another thing, if you don't have the capacity, please don't go for a loan. Don't. Every woman, every household should try, which is not the case, should try and lead a debt-free life, right? I have, you have all the things that you want: TV, fridge, washing machine, AC, blah, 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 a big car, a fancy house, blah, blah, all of that. But, half of it or 1/4 of it or 20% of it is always running on EMI because you've taken loans from the bank, right? I think managing finances well, right, should lead you to a debt-free life. Unless you're aspiring for something big and you don't have the money right now, yes, going for a loan makes sense. But having a debt-free life, a loan-free life is very important, whether it's a man or a woman. And if a woman can plan the finances well, I'm sure we can escape the debt, right? Another thing that we should definitely do is always keep some emergency fund, right? And women tend to do that. But then a lot of us don't practice it very religiously. When I say emergency fund, keep cash handy or keep some money handy. Say there's a family emergency, there's some sort of an emergency, and you need cash to deal with that, or to safeguard somebody's life. You should have emergency funds available at home. It can happen at any time in the night. Not all the ATMs are open, the banks are open midnight and stuff like that. So it's very important to have emergency funds under your sleeve to manage crisis. That's very important. Another 2 points that I would want to cover is learn how to save for the future, right? We cannot be so spendthrift that we only think for today and live for today. We should live for today, and we should also learn how to save for the future. How can you make those little savings? And the only way you will be able to make some savings is through the budgeting piece that I just explained. It's very important to do some budgeting at the beginning of every month as to how much money you have, what is your spending capacity, can you save, can you not save? If you've spent 20,000 in November, can you live December by spending 15,000 and save 5,000 for January, right? So saving methodology is very important, right? Last point from my side would be, it is also very, very important to have all your health insurance and life insurances in place. Correct? Life is very unpredictable. If you're not covered under any health insurance or life insurance, I don't think so it's a great idea to be. Today, everybody should have a health insurance or a life insurance, right? The premium, there are multiple policies available in the market. The premium varies from one service provider to the other, but it is important, right? It gives you some coverage, it gives you some safety, security, and that's very important. And I talked about saving. Whatever savings you do for today, savings for tomorrow, savings for the future, that will also help you live your life after 60 or life after retirement in a good, decent manner, because that is when you can use all the savings and lead a very comfortable life. You will not be dependent on your children or on your grandchildren for finances. It is very important to live well for today, but more important to save for tomorrow, right? Because you don't know, tomorrow is unpredictable. You don't know what tomorrow will bring, right? So keeping all these points, right? And it is women who brings that sense, right? To save, to have a financial goal, to plan well, to budget, to understand tax, to keep an emergency fund at home, and all of that, keep your health insurance, life insurance policies intact. These are some of those quick tips that every household, every woman, should adopt, right? And that'll not only make them financially savvy, it will bring a sense of confidence. They will be able to make their own decisions, right? They will be able to lead a better lifestyle, because when you plan well, save well, budget well, right, you can definitely lead a much, much better lifestyle compared to what you're leading today, right? And emergency fund, when I say, it can handle any sort of crisis. Each household, each woman can decide, what kind of what is the sum of money that you would want to keep at home. 20,000, I don't know, 50,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, it depends. $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, it depends on the individual woman. But yeah, an emergency fund is very, very important. So yeah, I think these were a couple of insights from my side, and all of this comes from personal experiences from my friends, colleagues in my network, right? Certain people have faced very difficult situations because they did not plan well financially. So financial planning is very important. And if the woman takes the charge, like she already takes the charge of the house, she takes the charge of the financial portfolio as well, I think we as a society will be in a much, much better place. Yeah. Any thoughts? That's how I would like to sum it up.
All right, thank you so much for the very very informative financial lessons or sessions you have provided. Like, I was about to ask, like, how do you break a habit, like a habit? Because here in Philippines, I'm from Philippines, all right. Like, if we have small earning, we are able to just make it, like, it's just enough, something like that. But as the monthly income goes higher, it appears to be that our expenses also goes higher. Like, it's a cycle, something like that. I was about to ask that, how do you break that kind of cycle? But you mentioned on the last part, like, uh doing a habit of financial planning and, like, putting the rest on emergency funds, something like that. So it does make sense.
Sure. So what happens is, very, very good point. What happens is, say, for example, my monthly salary was 10,000 and I was living my life in that. After a year, I get a promotion, whatever, I get my appraisal and my monthly salary moves from 10,000 to 20,000. Now, or maybe whatever thousand, say 20,000. Now I know I have this extra kitty of 10,000 rupees. And instead of, I don't know, watching one movie a month, probably that was my lifestyle, going to the multiplex and watching one movie a month. Now that I have this extra money, I start watching 2 movies a month, right? I was buying 2 pair of jeans till about last month, but after I have my increased salary, I'm buying 3 pairs of jeans, right? So what happens, John, is when your sum of money increases, your list of wants or wishes also increases, right? You tend to spend more, you tend to, because you have more money, you're a little more relaxed, you tend to spend more. And that's why I said, if you have a little extra money and you have that capacity to spend, be wise, be judicious if you want to spend it now or you want to save it for the future, right? So life is all about, it's a balancing act, right? You have too little, that's not enough. You have too much, that's also not enough, right? So it depends as to how you want to spend that extra sum of money which you've started earning after the next appraisal cycle or next promotion. Do you want to blow it up now and say, okay, I'm going to buy more extra stuff, I'm going to do one more international trip, I'm going to, buy a better car? Or do you want to save it for the future and say, okay, I'm going to use this for my children, or I'm going to use this as emergency fund and stuff like that? So that's an individual call. My advice to listeners over here will be, partly use it now and do whatever you want to do, because it's just one life. You get to live it only once. And partly save it for the future. So then it's a balancing act. Yeah. Does that answer, John? I hope
Yes.
so.
Thank you so much. Now,
Yeah.
thank you. Yep.
Yeah.
Any other insights? Yes, Trini.
Yeah, thank you, Shika, for a great session and important, very very important basics. And just on a fun note, one of the famous goddesses in India is Goddess Lakshmi. Obviously, is female. So I was just kidding about that. But anyway, yeah, these are the things that definitely we have to take very seriously for better peace of mind. Thank you for your valuable time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Really, I have seen, women in my own circle, in my own network, women who manage finances, believe me, you are very, very confident, right? Because they know that nobody can take them for a ride. Nobody can take them for granted. They understand their finance, they understand tax structure, they understand their compensation and all of it, right? You cannot take the woman for granted. She knows it all. You cannot fool her, you cannot cheat her. So yes. And I was thinking of telling Julian, right, instead of keeping the session title as Women and Financial Independence, you should say Miss Lakshmi. That's about it.
Yeah.
Right. Perfect. Thank you so much for that one, Shika. If in case there are more who would like to send their questions or insights, you can put it on the chat or you can ask questions in the Q&A section. All right. And also Shika is available, can be like contacted through LinkedIn. So you can always message her there. All right. So since it's all right, past few minutes, then we'll start the next topic for today, which will be fundraising and investment for startups. It's still about financial, but let's put it on a different level. All right. Now we have here Haruna Abdul Rahman, who will be discussing this topic for us. Um, he holds a Bachelor of Science and Masters of Science in Information Technology. Also, the founder of Agro Capital Farms, AC Farms, an agri-tech company that invests in smallholder farmers in Africa. And the top, also, he is a development expert who applies commercial strategies to maximize and improve human and organizational financials, social, and environmental well-being. Now, I'll give the floor to you, Enoch, to discuss this topic, and we will enjoy the session.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I don't know if you can see me very well.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's really good to be here. Thank you for this opportunity. It's really an awesome platform where startup organizations and decision makers can come to not just share, but also receive knowledge to actually upskill their business to the next level. So I'm very much excited to be here. and I look forward to what I'm talking about. So the topic basically is I'm going to be speaking on fundraising and investments for startup and SMEs. Over the years, working with different organizations, I've seen different people say different things. And one of the most common things I've heard from startups and small businesses is the statement where people say that there are no funds or no capital to start their business. And interestingly, contrary to popular statement, I believe that's not the case. I believe that there's a lot of funds available. There are a lot of investors looking for where to put their funds into. But the problem are the businesses are nowhere positioned to take advantage of that market or that opportunity to get those investors, which is what I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to basically talk about three to four major things I've observed to be the reasons why many businesses or startups or SMEs don't get the investment funds they do require. I'm going to be drawing from my wealth of experience over the years working with startups, working from the bank, and setting up my own venture capital fund. First thing first, I will tell you is that most people can get or access most of these funds possible or get investors is because their ideas are not well thought through. Now, what does it mean to have a well thought through ideas? I tell you two major components, two things you need to have is, first of all, a business plan, and not just a generic business plan, but a business plan that actually represents what your business is or what you forecast your business to be. So what does that business stand to offer? What makes it feasible? So if you have that, then the next thing is your cash flow forecast. Now, this is, for me, the most important. If I'm investing or if I'm working with clients to invest into a business, I want to look at the numbers. I want to look at your forecast. So a standard cash flow forecast is a 3-year plan to say that if I put this money, if I'm putting $1,000, if I'm putting $100,000 or $10,000 into that business, in the next 3 years, this should be the state of that business. In other words, the business may be profitable. Some business are not profitable in the next 6 years. Or in the next 3 years, some just need 6 months to be profitable. By profitable, I don't mean they're not making profit, but at that point, they'll get to the point where investors can begin to get return on their investment. So I want to be able to see that in 3 years. So what are the plans? So you say, I'm giving you $10,000, right? You're going to set up, for instance, a cafe, a high-end cafe, and having rented the place and a couple of things. In the next 1 year, 2 years, you're hoping to begin to give your investors returns. That should be clearly stated or clearly captured in your cash flow forecast. So that is the first thing I want to see. The second thing I want to see is what I call realistic ROIs. Now, ROIs are return on investment. Another thing most smallholder businesses or startups do is that we overpromise and underdeliver just because we want to get investment funds. Now, that's one of the things I look out for when I'm handling my investors' funds or trying to invest into small business and startups. I always look out for unrealistic promises. And here's what I'm going to tell you, and this is my advice to everyone who has a business, is starting up a business. Be very much realistic about your promise. Don't be so much in a hurry to collect the money that you promise what you know is not realistic. So I had a client once who wanted an investor to invest into this business. So I was asked to come do an analysis on the investment opportunity. And the person was promising 30% ROI per annum, which is unrealistic looking at post-COVID. Whatever the business might be, whatever the subsector might be, it is unrealistic to expect to give your investors 30% returns on their investment on a per annum basis. It's not realistic. So I wanted to do one of the analysis I want to do. How realistic are your promises? So even beyond the ROI, even the promise of your cash flow forecast. I don't expect you, there's no business on earth that you will start and make back all your capital and return in the first 3 months. That is insane. So that promise, so how realistic are your promise? The third thing I tell people, if you're going to get people to invest in your business, is the integrity you put off. So I tell people, before people invest in the idea, they invest in the person. So what people are investing most of the time when you're investing in your business is not just your idea. I mean, there are a lot of ideas out there, but most of the time they look at the person they're investing in. So what's your standard integrity? When people, what are the antecedents about you? People that have done business with you, people that have invested with you, can they give good referrals, good feedbacks about you? So it's very important that we have the right integrity. So let me even take it further. I tell people, I wouldn't go into business with someone who has a bad integrity. So it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you have a criminal record that is not justifiable, I'm not going to have you on my board of directors. I'm not going to do business with you, because what happens automatically is that the lack of integrity of the person you as a person, and you no longer are seen to be one who has integrity. So if you ask me 3 reasons why most people can't get investors are well-thought business ideas, the realistic promise that you're offering investors, and number 3, the integrity. If you have these 3 things pulled out, then you can begin to engage investors. You can, and I tell people, in bootstrapping an idea, your first set of investors are the people around you, your friends and family. Engage them, speak to them on that business idea and see how they could invest, no matter how little, something you could use to start up your business. The second opportunity or way you can get investors is getting investors from banks, getting banks to give you loans. It depends on what part of the world you are. It's easier on the European world as against Africa and a couple of places in Asia. Then another thing again is getting venture capital investors to invest in your business. There are a lot of VCs out there. I mean, VCs are becoming very bigger. I own a VC, but I invest into smallholder farmers in agriculture in Africa. Precisely at the moment, we're in Nigeria. So I'm one of those people that you can look for if you're a smallholder farmer to invest in your business. But in India, in many other places, there are VCs and organizations out there that could invest in your business. So for me, and this is my last note, is 3 things you need to be investor worthy. Number 1, a well thought out plan where you have your business plan, you have your cash flow forecast, the numbers showing, and your realistic promise. What are you promising your investors? Is it realistic? And number 3, the integrity. I tell people, and I'm going to say it again, people invest in you more than the idea. So are you investor worthy? Yes. So those are the 3 things I'm going to share in being ready for an investment. Yeah. So at this point, I don't know if there are any questions that I could answer. Are there any questions?
None from my side. I'm good.
Okay, perfect.
No, not at this moment, I guess. But thank you for the good information. Please continue.
So for now, so that's basically what I want to share in terms of getting investors into your business. I'm going to talk about fundraising a bit very briefly for the next 5 minutes, and this is for targeted at the non-profit angle. So if you look at the first part, I spoke about investors, and that's for the for-profit ideas. Now for the non-profit ideas, I've consulted for NGOs also. I'm currently in Accra, Ghana at the moment, where I'm investing. I'm consulting for a company. And I've been here for a week, so I get to invest in company. I get to consult for companies across the world. And one of the things I can tell you for the non-profit aspect in terms of fundraising is that, first of all, that non-profit of yours, that's social enterprise that you want to raise funds for, you need to understand that you need the major things most of the international donors look forward to or look out for in investing in your non-profit is your financials. It doesn't matter the capacity at which your non-profit is, you must have strong financials. You must have good financials. You must have good. When you started your non-profit, you started with some form of bootstrapping in terms of funds from your own account, funds from your friends. Every single part of that must be fully documented. You must have all this to make up your financial records. So because every donor out there, I'm talking about the big donors, the international donors from the United Nations to USAID, DFID, and a couple of others. One of the things they look forward to is your financials. So if all you have done in terms of social enterprise is $500 or $100, you must have that fully documented to also be able to raise funds. Another thing again is that what projects are you having them? Do you want them to give you grants or invest in your nonprofit? You must have your project clearly stated, clearly spelled out. So what is that non-profit project? A project, now, here's what I'm going to tell you. What makes a project a project? Number 1, the objective, the aims of that project, the start date of that project, and the end date of that project. The project must be measurable. What do you intend to achieve at the end of that project? You want to be able to take 50 or 100 girls in India. You want to be able to take them to school. You want to be able to pay for their school fees. You want to be able to give them clothes and books. All this must be clearly spelled out in your project plan. So project plan and your financials of the organization is very important. You're going to be able to access grants and a couple of other things. And I think, again, for non-profit, you must look out for is corporate social responsibilities. You need to begin to identify what are the Fortune 500 companies, the top organizations. You can begin to engage and pitch to them your project as a non-profit for them to be able to give you some form of grants and funding to be able to do the project you have set out to do. So yes, that is all of my presentation for now. If there are any questions, if there are no questions, I think that is all I have to say for today.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for sharing those very informative details about the fundraising and investments. Now, for any questions or insights, please feel free to unmute or put it on the chat so we can recognize.
Yeah, thank you very much, Abdul, for your insights. And yeah, so I definitely want to hear about what are the ventures that you are going to be involved in future. I mean, if there is something that you can share, and what is out there, in the journey ahead for you.
Sorry, I didn't get that again. Just...
Oh no, I was just asking. Personally, what are the ventures that you are going to be involved in the next few months or years? What are the ventures that you are going to be actively involved?
Okay, so at the moment I'm very much involved in consulting, because my personal mantra in life is, like as stated in my profile, is actually upscaling businesses and upscaling social enterprises. So at the moment I'm doing a lot of consulting, and also yes, beyond that I'm hoping to expand beyond Nigeria for a while, probably in next year 2022. So I'm looking at leaving the shores of Nigeria. I'm still in between decisions of what country, but it's definitely between Ghana or the United Kingdom, or maybe India, if there's some beautiful opportunity for me out there. But yes, so that's what I have in mind. But also beyond that, beyond 2022, to see how we could actually upscale the venture capital fund we have to not just invest in Nigeria, but also invest in Africa and also move beyond the world, move across the world. Sorry. So that's what I have in terms of long-term goals. Does that answer the question?
Yep. Thank you for the information.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that one. And also to recognize to the attendees and also for our viewers on live, Shika shared her LinkedIn profile. So if you wish to connect offline, you can reach her through that link. And also, if anyone is formulating their insight or questions, let me just thank the speakers for their time, effort, and the knowledge they have shared for today's session. And also, we wanted to let you know, as Julan mentioned at the start, that we also have our Let Us Talk It webinar for our youth every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So there are preparation sessions every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And also, you can register for that session, for the preparation session at our website. That's letustalkit.com/youth. And for the younger youth group, we have preparation sessions Tuesday and Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, so hope we can also support our youth for them to be more confident and build a better future. And yeah, again, recognizing if there are any other questions or insights you'd like to share.
From my side, John, I have shared my LinkedIn profile, so the listeners can connect, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. That would be perfect.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm not seeing any hands raised or any questions or chats so far. So I guess we can call it a day. Again, thank you so much, speakers, and for the attendees, thank you so much for your time attending for our session today. We hope to see you again next Wednesday, the same time, and join us in our interesting sessions with another topic for our ZIPINAR. All right, so let's continue to earn knowledge and also for our future speakers to be sharing back their knowledge and experiences to the community. Again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining Let Us Talk It webinar today. Take care all.
Thank you.
And goodbye.
Thank you, Srini and Phil John, for the opportunity. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you,
And bye.
Shika, for honoring.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Priya.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.